tell me if I'm overreacting with this, because I feel like I'm not, but I don't know. So the gym I go to, there is a trainer who takes my equipment when I'm using it. So, and it's not like I had a stool that I had my water bottle and stuff on, and he literally put them on the ground next to the stool and took the stool when I had walked away to go blow my nose. So earlier this week I'm doing deadlifts, and then he has a client start throwing like a 20-pound ball, right? Like doing throws in the air, and the ball's landing like a foot in front of me. And there's a pretty big open area. So I moved into deadlift somewhere else. But like he clearly had the client do them near me, I think, because the whole area is open. Why would you not put them somewhere else? And then today I was doing battle ropes, and there's 2 open squat racks with monkey bars between them. And so I put the battle ropes on one of the rack legs. And now this time it's a different trainer. It's been consistently the same trainer. And earlier this week versus taking, the shit I'm using. So this trainer, while I'm using it with a completely open squat rack, set up the safety bars and had a client start doing rack pulls while I'm using the ropes. So I'd ask them like, hey, are you okay if I still finish this set? And she goes, oh yeah. So I start, doing my set. And then she had the 60-year-old client step over the safety arms to get into the rack to do the rack pulls while I'm doing the ropes while there's a completely open squat rack. I took the ropes, went to this open squat rack, but I feel like they're intentionally letting me know they don't want me at their gym, and I just can't. Am I overthinking this?
But I could be a good educator and pull up the stats and info and everything, but that'll take hours. So instead, I'm going to tell you a story. So a few years ago, I studied abroad in South India with a feminism course, and almost all my classmates were white women. So as a part of our class, we spoke to a bunch of different women with different socioeconomic statuses and dreams and goals, marital status, so on and so forth. But for some reason, my classmates kept getting hung up on women who were in the kitchen. So one day, one of my classmates asked one of the women we're speaking to, doesn't she feel oppressed being in the kitchen? Doesn't she wish she could go out and get a job? So on and so forth. But my classmate spoke very little Tamil, and the woman we were speaking to spoke very little English, so it didn't really go anywhere. But later, I ended up speaking to the woman, and her son was translating because I was just standing there, and she told me all about how much she loved cooking and how much she collected cookbooks and how this was like her whole thing, and it's how she cared for her family, was a part of her community. For the rest of the trip, I went and asked women like similar things, and all of the responses were like the same. They loved cooking. And I realized that for my classmate, feminism meant liberation from the kitchen and being able to work, even though she wasn't really listening to the women we were speaking to, and was ultimately going to take away their source of happiness. Instead of pushing what we think is right, we should just listen and respond.
Rating Black Characters That I Grew Up With, Part 8. And it's Casey Undercover. And this is what's being rated. Jumping in for real, this time I'm going to rate it a 7 out of 10. I actually meant to give Shake It Up less than a 7. It didn't do anything. But this show is a perfect 7. There was a black family. That was pretty much it. We wanted to see this as revolutionary, but let's just break it down. A sassy dark-skinned girl being the only one with their natural hair being worn. The awkward dark-skinned boy. Never saw that before. Not once. Mother is light-skinned, father is dark-skinned. And the tall, skinny, light-skinned girl is literally the perfect golden child. But according to Google, this is the person who created the show, so I'd rate Casey's character a 6 out of 10. I like the character. She didn't bring anything to the table at all. I think her other siblings brought more, if anything. Also this. I wanted to end off with this clever observation someone made in my last video.
Not everyone with a period's a woman, and not all women have periods, and that's why we need inclusive language. So let's unpack that. First of all, what do I mean by inclusive language? Period products, people with periods, menstrual hygiene, reproductive health. And this is because gender does not correlate with biological functions like a period. We want to be inclusive to all people with periods, like some cisgender women, some transgender men, non-binary people, two-spirit people, gender fluid people, and we do not want to be exclusionary to women because not all women have periods, like some transgender women, women that have had hysterectomies, women with things like endometriosis, or women that just choose to not have a period. So when it comes to intersectional feminism and using inclusive language surrounding reproductive health, we're not trying to erase anyone from the conversation. We're trying to include everyone and make everyone feel safe.
Hey there, hi, my name is Mercury, and this is a really good question. So, let's go and figure out how to unclog this sink. This is the P-trap. We're going to take both of these off, right here, to take this off to see what's inside it. As we can see, we found a nasty hair clog. This is really common and nothing to be ashamed of. We're going to use a tool real quick and pull it on out. I removed what I could with my hands, and now I'm gonna go up with the scribe just to make sure nothing else is clogged. I can usually take these off and put them all back on with my hands. But if you are having trouble getting it off or putting it back on, please use one of these wrenches. And okay, that clog is fixed. And you can do this at home. Just take your time and be patient. Sometimes things don't go right, but that doesn't mean that you did anything wrong. Alright, I'll see you next time.
Women, they have minds, and they have souls, as well as just humans.
And whatever, we're not there. How is it an issue to ask to see because if you guys are not actively thinking of us, we're always left out. That doesn't make any, how is it
I will always say this: women who go through the most should be centered the most in topics of feminism. In feminism, there is this culture of elitism where the women who are the most desirable are the most shown. Trans, fat, queer, and women of color, disabled women also should be centered in the topics of conversation when it comes to feminism. Being a woman doesn't automatically mean that you're a feminist. Use your privilege to help other women below you.
Hi, the majority of my followers are Turkish, but I do have some followers from other nationalities, so I wanted to talk about this. Turkey just withdrew from Istanbul Convention, which was a convention first signed by Turkey, actually. It supports the rights of women, children, abuse survivors, LGBT people, etc. Retrieving from this convention is a human rights violation. And in Turkey, approximately 1 woman die every single day. And we're trying to do our best to raise awareness, but please try to share things about this and let people know, because we're in a really hard situations and our rights are being taken from us. For me, I'm a queer woman and I'm scared, honestly.
I used to live above a small convenience store, and my roommate worked there. He worked behind the counter. I went down there to get a drink one day, and as I was checking out, I see 2 men walk into the store out of the corner of my eye. They immediately start very inappropriately catcalling me and sexually harassing me. And they feel more than comfortable doing this in full view of another man who they don't even know. I ask them to stop, and they don't. And then seeing the discomfort on my face, my roommate tells them that I'm his sister and asks them to stop. And these men responded by apologizing to him. They said that they would hate if anyone talked to their sister that way. So not only were these men fully aware that their behavior was absolutely harassment and they wouldn't want it to happen to a woman that they know, and they didn't even see me as enough of a human to apologize to me, the person they were harassing. They apologized to the nearest man that took ownership over me.
Black women talk about how white feminists talk over their voices, silence their voices, quiet their voices. And if you've never been a witness to this, you need to see what's unfolding on Twitter right now. This woman calls herself a radical feminist, which anytime you refer to yourself as radical anything, you're immediately sus on my list. Usually that means you're a female supremacist in my experience, but I digress. She has a real problem with the Venus and Serena Williams movie, as you can see. A lot of black women, some very prominent, were quick to point out to her that this is produced by both Venus and Serena. It was the story they wanted to tell to honor their father. Cool, right? Like, hey, thanks for educating me. I didn't know that, is probably what she should have said. She just doubled down on her opinion. And then what happened is a lot of other self-proclaimed white radical feminists joined in and ignored literally the thousands of tweets that are growing by now both black men and women, pointing out how important this movie is for a number of reasons. This woman right here is basically just saying that the black women that are clarifying on the issue are just, I don't know, too dumb to understand that they're victims of the patriarchy. If you hate men so much that that hate is making you blind to the voices of other women, you're not a feminist. Again, you're a female supremacist. There is a difference. So I will shut up for the remainder of this video so that the Black women who had something to say about this matter can be heard.